Game mechanics are quite varied. There's some that are good and some that are, well, not so good. You can never forget the bad ones. But one game mechanic that stands out from the rest is one that is either very loved or very hated. That mechanic being quick time events. Quick time events in games are somewhat of a controversial topic depending on who you're talking to, really. On one hand, you got people who can't stand them at all and think they're the worst thing to ever happen to gaming. And then there's the Sonic Unleashed, God of War trilogy, Spider-Man PS4, quick time event lovers such as myself. If you don't know what a quick time event is, then basically they are an event that occurs mid-gameplay where a cinematic will play once it's triggered, and a button prompt will appear on the screen that'll have the player press whatever button is being told to be pressed in a certain amount of time. If you don't press it in time, you fail it, thus resulting in you dying or the fight being back to square one. But if you do press it in time, then you either complete it entirely and you get to move on, or you get slapped in the face with the realization of, oh shoot! QTEs aren't in every game that comes out, but they are in a good amount of games that have been released over the years. And no matter what game they happen to be in, developers usually have a fun, creative, as well as a somewhat of a unique way to involve QuickTime events into their games. Well, unless you're Shimu and you make it to where it's everything you do. QuickTime events can be a lot of fun. Not only do they involve the player within a cinematic in-game in a fun as well as a creative way, but also keeps you engaged and on your toes during gameplay too. Now the argument could be made saying,
oh, but QTEs are annoying and I won't know when one's going to come up during gameplay, so therefore they suck.
Or there's another argument being,
QTEs disrupt the flow of gameplay and they're cheap. Also, it's an outdated game design that shouldn't be used in modern games.
Well, you see, my good friend, if you direct your attention to the front of the class here, there is actually an explanation as to when that argument comes to mind for you. You see, what this is basically the developer saying, hey man, focus, you're not done yet. This ain't no Black Ops 1 where you get to just sit down and watch a cinematic for a few minutes and get to take a break. No, sir, you gotta be engaged with our games at all times.
while QuickTime events are a hit or a miss for some people, I have always loved them in games. They may not add anything groundbreaking to the games they're in, well, unless you're God of War, then forget what I just said there, but they're just so dang fun if they're done right. Sure, games like Shimu and Bayonetta's QTEs can be questionable at times, while the questionable ones do exist for sure. However, there are some QuickTime events in games that are actually fun and feel natural to use within those games. Like in Spider-Man PS4, when you're stopping the chopper, there's then a number of QTEs throughout the segment, like moving your hand to be able to shoot your web at the chopper, or even shooting enough webs to catch the chopper. This moment is truly a memorable one throughout the first Spider-Man game. The Spider-Man games may not be known for their QTEs, but they do add to the game a bit because when one shows up, it puts you in the shoes of Spider-Man. Instead of watching Spider-Man do said action, you are pushing this building up. You are stopping the chopper from hurting people. You are punching the criminals in the car chase and stopping the car as well. You are attacking Wilson Fisk here. The QuickTime events in this game make it more of an interactive experience here, and not like God of War where you just hit a button to like chop down a tree or something. No. This makes you feel like Spider-Man. This is just one of a number of other good and fun QTEs in games. One franchise that's very similar to this and one that's very known for its QTEs is God of War. The God of War trilogy not only had amazing combat and puzzle solving with its original trilogy, the games were also very well known for its great amount and awesome QTEs, ranging from ones where you press the button fast enough to do an attack and kill the enemy. Heck, they'd even change this up in 3 and said button prompt would appear on the screen where it was mapped to on the controller. And that was genuinely such a genius move that no other game dev did at the time, let alone for QuickTime events. Not to mention throughout the series there's another type of a QuickTime event in the games where you rapidly press circle to imply the feeling of urgency of the action you're doing, whether it's pushing your blades into a Minotaur's mouth to kill it, or even doing something as simple as opening a door. The QTEs in these games don't mess around, especially in the first 2 games because they are so fast and you don't have the advantage like in 3 where the button prompt will appear on screen where it's mapped on the controller. This might be just because of that change, but I always felt like the QTEs in the first 2 God of War games were way faster than they are in 3. This might just be me though, but it's always what it felt like for some reason. The QuickTime events from the God of War games are truly iconic and are one of the very memorable pieces from these games. Much like with Spider-Man and other games, they add to the experience with their on-time button press to make you feel like you're really doing something, from punching the Kingpin to forcing a giant hand off of you. QuickTime events from these games genuinely test your reflexes and add more to the experience in games like these, and while most other games would mainly have QuickTime events mainly for the effect of quick reaction time, it would really be hit or miss with some of these games. But one franchise who got the whole just reacting fast QTE right is the Sonic series, as a matter of fact. Ironic, isn't it? Starting in Sonic Unleashed in 2008, not only was the boost formula brought into 3D and Sonic Team taking one look at God of War and said,
Write that down! Write that down!
But introduced into the Sonic series here in Sonic Unleashed was QuickTime events. In Sonic Unleashed, there's 2 different types of gameplay styles. We all know this: daytime is regular Sonic and nighttime is the Werehog. Both of these gameplay styles in this game each have quick time events of their own to bring to the table. Starting with the day levels, there's different colored ramps that Sonic can run on, but unlike the regular ramps throughout the level, this one is different. Here, this ramp is colored differently, and once on it, everything slows to a stop, and button combinations will appear on screen, and you're required to push all 3 and sometimes 5 in order for you to get to the higher route and keep going fast. But sometimes you are required to do this to not fall into a pit while playing the level. Another quick time event throughout the day levels is the one where you get on a blue spring and have to press certain buttons in a certain amount of time. These quick time events are mainly just for shortcuts, but sometimes are key moments during the level. If it wasn't obvious, these quick time events are mainly here just to test the reaction timing of the player while playing the level. While some will call this tedious, I find it fun, especially when there's a lot on screen. It's so fun to get one glance at it and then just press away as fast as you can. Now that's the daytime quick time events for this game, but when it's time for the Werehog combat at night, new quick time events are brought in to be pulled off. And by that, I mean it's literally just God of War QTEs. Same gimmick, unique animations, and even a thing over their head whenever you hit them enough times. Oh my gosh, is there anything you didn't steal from God of War? Needless to say, in terms of QTEs in this game, the daytime ones are in a more positive light than the nighttime ones. But that's not where QTEs in Sonic end actually, as they've made their comeback in games like Sonic Frontiers and even Shadow Generations too. Those games implemented QTEs in very nice and creative ways. While sure, most of the time they appear only in the boss fights, but they're still pretty fun whenever they do show up. While Sonic QTEs, unlike Spider-Man and God of War, aren't experience adding based like those two games, and Sonic QTEs are more about speed, fast reaction timing, and paying attention. The quick time events from Sonic games are still a whole lot of fun, and I love that Sonic Team has managed to have a way to implement them into the Sonic series. QTEs that I've gone over so far are ones that you see in a lot of games released, whether it's fast reaction time, adding to the experience, focus, or all of the above. But one other franchise that has some insane QTEs and takes a bit of a twist on them is Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. With Metal Gear Rising, this game's QTEs aren't like the other games mentioned. Unlike games like God of War or Sonic games, Metal Gear Rising's QuickTime events don't have a lot of ones where you press a button at a certain time for a certain amount of time. Sure, there are the moments where you mash the button once the QTE is started, but this game introduces something here that is truly a lot of fun, especially for the world of QTEs, and that is Blade Mode. Okay guys, so listen here. You know that episode of Dragon Ball in the Android Saga where Trunks cuts Frieza in half, then slices and dices him into pieces? Well, someone at Platinum Games saw that and said, hey, I want to make that into a game. Blade Mode in this game is by far one of the most awesome things to come from Metal Gear Rising. Blade Mode in this game is basically where you press the left trigger and the camera pans behind Raiden, and you can just literally go nuts on your opponent, slicing and dicing to your heart's contempt. You can do this in regular combat, but it's when it's done in the bosses is the real highlight. During bosses, when you engage in the QuickTime event, you can then run up to its weak spot and then go Blade Mode and just go wild on your opponent. It's so much fun. Your opponent can be fully cut up, but because Platinum Games knows how to make awesome combat games, you can just keep going for a bit. While this isn't like most other QuickTime events that was previously mentioned, this is still genuinely just a fun variation of a QuickTime event that is in this game, and is one of the many things that makes Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance such a great game. With its amazing combat, iconic characters, and just overall, the game is just really a fun time. Now Platinum, please give us a sequel! So as you can tell, QuickTime events in games, while all being the same in principle and concept, but in execution, depending on who is making the game, QuickTime events can be different in a number of ways. One minute they can add to the experience of the game and make you feel like the character, and the other just to test your reaction whilst playing. And then there's ones that are just so dang fun. QuickTime events are still around in games to this very day as well. Heck, some games even evolve them a little bit, like Ghost of Tsushima, where you have to face off, or you actually have to let go of the buttons at the right time. I know the face-off mode in that game is not a QuickTime event, but you could kind of see what I'm saying here. While I know there's plenty more games with QTEs out there that are probably that I didn't talk about today, and you're right, there are other ones like Resident Evil 4. These are the ones from my experience and ones that happen to be my favorites. And from playing all of these games, I just want to say that QuickTime events are genuinely just awesome. Sure, it doesn't make a game like an instant 10 out of 10 whenever I see a QuickTime event in a game, but whenever a game does have one, like say Shadow Generations for example, or even when the new God of War games bring back the button mashy ones every now and again, I just look at that and smile and remember that QuickTime events are still awesome.
Also in Mortal Kombat 9, you can literally do QTEs as Kratos when you fight as him. This is the best fighting game ever made.